Namaste. Namaskaram. Arunachalam. You're Nathan. Okay, welcome. Or, welcome. And welcome to everyone else. I hadn't seen you in 2 weeks, Vina. So, anyone have something to start us off with this morning? Anyone have a question? Something you'd like to say? Okay, Linda?
I don't know what it is, but I think there is a difference between the right side of the body and the left side.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel myself in meditation always in the left side. And it is like having difficulties to come in the right side also. And when it happens, it is some more, it's wholeness, and it is like I have...
Would you speak a little louder?
Yeah, then it is like I would go over a bridge and I just reach something, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
If I come to the right side,
mm-hmm.
in the body, it's just a bodily thing, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And when I close my eyes, immediately I'm always left, and it has to do something.
Just a minute, crows, bells, and all. I'm not hearing you. Okay.
It is some effort to come in the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is.
Don't come into either side. Yeah, don't come into either side. That's just the body. So whatever's going on in the body, just let it go on in the body. That's not you. Let your inquiry bring you back into the heart, into the self, into the awareness that is there, that is aware of this side of the body and that side of the body. There can't be a this side of the body or that side of the body. There can't be a left or a right. Without first there being a consciousness, an awareness that is aware. Let your meditation be on the consciousness, on the awareness that is aware, not on what sensations are necessarily occurring in the body. Now, there are times that might be helpful for whatever reason. If you're going through some discomfort, then you want to get in touch with the experience and just experience it. See? Just fully experience it. Don't resist it. Don't try to change it. Just be with it and experience the experience of it, and that'll clear it up, and then remain in the awareness itself. Just the awareness. That's all that is necessary. If you'll stay in the awareness and stay aware of the awareness as the awareness, that'll take care of everything. Okay? Got it? All right. Someone over here had their hand. Okay. Regular.
I just noticed in the last satsangs, sometimes you are shouting. And I feel in myself that this shouting is very connected with somebody is being bad to me. And I feel this kind of, things coming up in this direction. Also kind of, I get a little bit tense in my practice. I should be better, or I should be this, or I should do more or something. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like to expose this. That, I feel a kind of dependence, that somebody is nice to me. If somebody is nice to me, then I am...
Everything's okay. Huh? Yeah. Do you find that in your life, in your experience, that everyone is always nice to you?
No, never.
Ah. Well, I just represent all of it. See, I'm all aspects of yourself. I'm like the facets of a diamond. You know, diamonds have many facets. They reflect light from all directions. See? I'm just the diamond. But I'm reflecting you to you. I'm reflecting all facets of you to you. And if that didn't happen, you wouldn't know those facets were there necessarily. See?
The last one.
You wouldn't know that they are there. You wouldn't know that that was there. See? I just represent what's in you that needs to come out to be seen so that you can no longer be the effect of it. See?
Yeah.
You see?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sometimes I shout. Sometimes I'm very quiet and say nothing. So you create me many different ways. So what? Last week on Friday, I guess everyone created me shouting. So you might look and say, wonder why I was creating Ramana shouting. Komiko, did you notice that I was shouting?
But I'm in a flowery garden now.
Yeah. Okay? No matter what happens, just observe it, see what's happening, don't identify with it. Or look and see where you are identified with it, and then release your identification with it, and just be in the awareness. See? Just in the awareness as the awareness. See? Neither this nor that. You feel that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very relieving.
Huh?
It's very relieving.
Yes, it is, isn't it? So you see, when you're with me, see, it's like over here. We just groom one another. See? When you're with me, we're just grooming one another. See? Like over here. They came today for Satsang. So that's what Satsang is. It's a grooming, see? You come to be groomed. We're just monkeys being groomed, huh? Or we groom that monkey mind. Huh? Okay? Does everyone get it? Don't you see that no matter what is happening at any time that it's happening, that's just a facet of you? Is that hard to see sometimes? Is that difficult to see sometimes? That everything that I'm seeing is really a facet of me? Isn't there more often, isn't there a tendency that which I'm seeing that is pleasant, that's a facet of me? Huh? But that which I see that's not very pleasant, that must be a facet of someone else. That's not a facet of me, not that unpleasant part. Huh? Yet we have to inquire, who is seeing it? Where is the seeing occurring? See? The seen and the seer are not different. It's a great paradox. In one sense, we can say, well, that which is seen and I, the seer, are different because it's over there and I'm over here, so that's not me. Do we get that one? Yet, who is it that is saying that? Now, when we look at who is saying that and see where the one who is saying that originates, what is the source of the one who is saying that? We move back into the pure awareness, the witnessing awareness of the one who is seeing the me that is seeing the you, or the other. There's a me here seeing another, but who is seeing the me that is seeing the other? Bring your inquiry all the way back to the source, where it is all occurring. Where is it originating? And simply be in that source, as that source. Just remain as that source. If you're remaining as that source, tell me, what else do you need to do? What? What do you need to do if you're remaining in the source as the source? What?
Stay there.
Exactly, nothing. Stay there. That's all that needs to be done. And if you remain there, if it takes effort to remain there, then you're still involved in sadhana. That's your sadhana. Your sadhana is nothing more than remaining in the source. Not trying to figure out what's going in the body, what's going on in the mind, what's going on in the world, not trying to solve any of that. Your sadhana is simply remaining in the source, remaining in the self. So as long as there's effort to remain in the source, that's your sadhana. Your sadhana is still going on. Just observe that. That's all. Just see your sadhana is still occurring. And when you continue with this process, when you continue with this sadhana, this practice, to the point where you find that it is easier and easier and easier to simply remain in the source. Have you noticed that it does get easier and easier and easier to remain in the source? And you notice that it's much easier to remain in the source when you're in satsang. So, for you, you must choose to be in satsang all the time. What is being in satsang all the time? Isn't that being in the source all the time? Isn't it? It is you being in the source all the time. You being the source all the time. That's the true significance of satsang. That's what satsang is. Now, as you continue to abide in satsang, which is your own satsang, see, it's your company that you're keeping with the source, with the self, which is always in you. It's not outside of you. There's no source outside of you. Eventually, it takes no effort. Now, when I say it takes no effort, what has actually occurred is in this process of staying in the source, you're not feeding the tendencies of the mind by going there wherever the mind is going. As long as you continue to go there where the mind is going, you're feeding the mind. You're continuing to strengthen the mind. It doesn't matter what the mind is attending to. If you go there and attend to it with the mind, you are further reinforcing the mind. You're prolonging the life of the mind. And as long as you prolong the life of the mind, you're prolonging your own suffering. Because the mind is the problem. But if you remain in the source, don't go there to the mind. Don't go where the mind wants you to go. You remain in the source, and eventually, by not feeding the mind, it would be just like a plant. If you don't water the plant, if you don't continue to water the plant, say it's a pot plant, here in India, it doesn't even have to be a pot plant, just don't water it, and what's going to happen to the plant? What will happen if you don't water it? Will it dry up? Will it not die? So don't water your mind. Don't water it by continuing to give your attention to where it goes. Keep your attention only in the self. Your own I amness, this awareness that is always present as itself, as awareness. And now this awareness that is always present as itself, as awareness, the quality and nature of that awareness is infinite. Infinite. It has no beginning. It has no ending. It's timeless. And when you're able to simply abide in this timeless, infinite awareness, as this timeless, infinite awareness, without the tendencies now of the mind drawing you out, that means then it's taking no effort for you to remain in the source, in this awareness, because the mind is no longer drawing you out. And when this occurs to the point where there's no effort at all, there no longer is any effort at all. You're just abiding in it as it. What's that? What is that?
Realization.
That's realization. That's enlightenment. That's completion. That's all there is to it. Nothing else. Nothing else that you have to do. No practice. No sadhana. No work of a spiritual nature. Your destiny may be such from the body's point of view that you may have to work to provide for the body. Or if you have a family, to provide for the bodies of your family. But you remain in the source while all of that is going on. You remain in the self while all of that is going on. You remain in the pure awareness while all of that is going on. And as the pure awareness, the functioning happens. Now, everything that is functioning, you see its functioning as the total functioning of manifestation. Manifestation's total functioning on its own of the self. There's no I there doing this or doing that. It's the totality of being expressing itself. It's the allness of being expressing itself. And you are that. And the truth is, you've always been that. You've only been that. You have never been other than that. Never. There is no such thing as an individual being. There is not now. There never has been, nor will there ever be, an individual being. You are the total functioning. You are the total being functioning in this moment and in all moments. But if you become identified with your mind, then the nature of the mind is to divide consciousness, apparently, and it's only an appearance, it really isn't divided, but apparently to divide consciousness into pieces and parts, into segments, into objects, into persons and places and things. But it's only the one consciousness. That's all there is, and that's all there has ever been. And that one consciousness is the self. It's you. You are that. Are we all here together? We're all experiencing this together? Now this that we're experiencing together, all you do is continue to experience this that we're all experiencing together, and that's it. There's nothing else that has to be done. Nothing. From this consciousness, you can say, what do you want to play today? Everything is play. Everything is joy. Everything is pleasant. Everything. even that which otherwise would appear to be unpleasant. You will see it humorously. If it's occurring for someone else, you'll see it compassionately. Still the same thing. Someone else is caught and stuck, you'll see compassionately. Or you'll see, that's not for me. That's going on in me, that's an expression of me, but that's not the part of me that I choose to be. Are we all here? Yes. Is it Kathleen, or is that what, is it?
Yes.
Is that it? I don't know, is it Catherine or Kathleen? Someone said Catherine, someone said Kathleen. Is it?
Because in Hungarian it's Kathleen.
Kathleen.
It's like Kathleen.
Like Kathleen. Okay.
Just about this present and unpleasant. I just see that more and more about in myself, there is a kind of feeling of indifference. That walking with someone and seeing, oh, so beautiful this bird, so beautiful this flower, I say, what's wrong with me? But I don't see, like, I'm just indifferent. I see, but there is not this feeling that it's so beautiful, or like it was before that I knew more important. So, or just meeting with friends, and I just see that it doesn't make me so much happiness as before. It's just kind of indifference, and but in the way also being comfortable
In the way? I'm sorry?
also be feeling comfortable in situations, but with this indifference, I don't know.
So you have
No, is it something that
that's just what you're going through right now. That's okay. There'll be times that you will be indifferent. Just maybe that's where you are. Okay, remain in the indifference. That's all right. Meaning, in one sense, you're always indifferent. You see? Because no matter what is going on, that's really not you in a separate sense.
something like this?
Yes.
Being there, it's not possible to give attention, so much attention to
Yeah.
persons or objects or something.
Yes. You see, for so long, we have been identified with persons. We've been identified with places. We've been identified with things, objects, experiences, and calling them mine. This is me, I, me, my, mine. Now you're breaking free of that. And in the process of breaking free of that, you begin to get a quality of it really doesn't matter. See? This just doesn't matter, which is indifference, you see? People considered Bhagavan to be totally indifferent. He was so aloof. He was so above it. He was so beyond everything else that was going on. People considered him to be totally indifferent. In one sense, he was. In another sense, he was right there present, very compassionate, totally conscious, fully aware, very sensitive to what was occurring. He could be either, according to what the situation called for, according to what was appropriate in the moment. Yeah. Just in your compassion, just understand, in your awareness, have compassion or be compassionate. See, for the fact that those who don't know where you're coming from now are looking and expecting you to respond a certain way, to act a certain way. You're no longer responding that way necessarily, you see? Now you're in a place, as you say, of indifference, which is more peaceful inside, which is more complete inside. You're not needing to go here, go there with your mind, or even your body. You're not needing this or that. The fulfillment is coming from you, as you. So you're not needing people. Look to see how much of our lives are lived by the need for this, the need for that. We need this thing. We need this relationship. We need this person. We need this thing. Whatever it may be, we need it. And if it's taken from us, then we feel a loss. We feel a limitation. We feel a lack. Do you see? But if you're living fully as the heart, if you're living fully as the self, that is living fully. Everything is fulfilled from within one's own being. So there is no need. And yes, your relationship with people may go through a change, you see, because your own sense of being has gone through a change. Your sense of being is no longer dependent. You're no longer dependent. You're not necessarily independent either, but you're just present. Neither this nor that. Just being. Are we all right here? And it's just remaining in this balance of being. See? Not being pulled one way or the other. Now, people are going to have expectations. The people who do not know that you are now abiding in the self, they're not aware of what abiding in the self even means. They may still have expectations. Now, you can have compassion for their lack of understanding. In some cases, you might attempt to communicate what's occurring with you, but if they're not ready to understand it, if they're not capable to understand it, they're not going to understand it. So don't try to make them understand it. If they're not capable of understanding it, you just be compassionate and smile and accept that they are where they are. Let them be where they are. Don't try to change them to where you are, nor do you have to go back to where you used to be. You can remember where you used to be, and in remembering, then you can pretend that you are still that way in communicating with them, but you know you're not that way anymore. Are you all with me? You get it? Can you feel it? Feel it. Feeling is the thing. Yes.
Something just coming up now when you tell this. Because Switzerland, I have many friends and they are very successful in good things, in music or therapy or something. And I feel in myself kind of judging also, because they are successful and they do good work with people and so, and me, I'm more quiet and so, and still I feel they have not understanding for the self. And so this kind of judgmental stories going on also about me, if mine is better or they are better or something like that.
In that sense, I would say it's better not to compare. Do not compare yourself with others. I am better or they are better. I'm worse or they are worse. See? Don't make those comparisons. If you're going to compare, then compare you with you. Compare where you are now with where you used to be. Compare what you understand now with what you used to understand. See? But not with others. Okay? And let others be as they are, and you accept you as you are. Accept them where they are, and accept you where you are. Okay? Yes?
Is there a tendency in relationships, especially intimate relationships, due to the nature of desire, that they pull us out of our natural state?
A tendency in personal relationships to pull you out?
Yeah.
Is there a tendency in personal?
Yeah, because one goes a lot more into the nature of mind and desire due to interaction.
Well, look at your relationship. First of all, you have to get in touch within you. What was the motive? What was the purpose? What's the intention of being in a personal relationship? What started you in the relationship to begin with? So and be honest with yourself. See, look and see. It's not an analysis in the sense that you have to deeply analyze it. Just get in touch immediately with the dynamics of it. See? What is it that is bringing you to a relationship? What is it that you are deriving from a relationship? Why are you in a relationship? Now, if you'll look and be honest with yourself, you will have to acknowledge that there is some area of need or desire there. Nothing wrong, just see it. Just see it. Now, in seeing it and seeing that there is a need there, there's a need for satisfaction, fulfillment, compassion, or whatever, acknowledge that that's there. And if your relationship is with one who is equally where you are, if they're along with you in their sadhana, in their spiritual practice, then the relationship can be very enjoyable and very beneficial. If they're not on the same spiritual path or close to being on the same spiritual level that you are, then it can be a detriment, and likely will be. You see?
So let's say even if these two people are spiritually committed,
yes,
is the desire coming up, is that a detriment, a hindrance?
If you are compatible with one another and you have desire with one another or for one another, that can be beneficial for you to observe and see your desire. And so together you can work through your desire so that you have compassion for one another's desire, because you have the desire too, and you have conscious awareness of to what extent you are both at the effect of the desire for one another. And gradually, as Catalina is just saying, you become into that place of more or less of indifference. It's not an indifference in where you don't care for one another anymore, but you no longer have the pull, the need for one another. You have a full acceptance of one another. You have a total being with one another, but it's not. But your fulfillment is coming from within you, not from each other. Now, out of that, you fill the other with your fullness, and the other fills you with their fullness, and now your cup runneth over. It's a beautiful experience then, you see, because you're feeding each other. You're not trying to derive something from each other, you see. Now it becomes feed, not need. You get the difference? Feed, not need. Huh? And if that's what your relationship is based upon, then it can be beautiful. But if it's based upon need, it's going to be difficult. Because we cannot really, none of us can actually fulfill another's needs totally. Can we? Can we ever really fully live up to each other's expectations? No, we cannot. Just see that and acknowledge that and accept that fact, and don't go into any kind of relationship expecting that. Do we see? Okay? Yes.
My goal is to abide in the self constantly.
Well, quit making that a goal.
Anyway, like daily life, all kind of activity, just to abide in the self. But when I talk with people, it's the most difficult. It's almost impossible.
Almost
impossible.
Almost impossible when you talk with people?
Yeah.
Well, look at that.
I forget to look at it. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Well, number one, let's go back to your opening statement. The very first statement that you made. You said, my goal. Now, what does a goal imply? What are you really saying when you have a goal? What does that say?
I want to go there.
So if you want to go there, where are you now? And where is it?
Sometimes here, sometimes there.
See? You're here and it's there. You have already created a separateness.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes.
Well, look at that. I teach, and in our I Sit and on all of our programs, we teach, don't make the self a goal. Don't make abiding in the self a goal. Don't make realization of the self a goal. Don't make enlightenment a goal. What is it? It's not a goal. It's a purpose. Make enlightenment, make abiding in the self all the time your purpose. Now, let's look at that. In Aham, immediately when one comes into relationship with me in Aham, you have to give up your goal. Let's say you were already abiding in the self. Could abiding in the self then be your goal? Could never be your goal, could it? Because in order for it to be your goal, if you're abiding in the self, you're going to take on the consciousness that you're not in the self in order to project it elsewhere, in order to make it a goal. Do you see? And see, this is not just a matter of semantics of words. This is a matter of consciousness. It's a true matter of consciousness. So, when people come into Aham, into relationship with me, with the heart, with the self, and with the community, with Aham as a conscious community, we immediately say, you are the self. Now, be the self. Right now. Is the self a goal for you right now, or are you abiding in it? Aren't you abiding? Aren't you in the heart? Aren't you in the awareness of your own being, as your own being? This is it. Where do you got to go? Where is there a goal? You say, yes, but I keep forgetting it. Well, forgetting it is the mind. That's just thinking. Once the mind rises, and you've identified with the mind, you've become the body, you're seeing someone to relate with as other, then you are forgetting that you are already in the self. See? So, you must be alert and let your sadhana be conducted not toward the self as a goal, but by the self as your ongoing purpose of life. See, be in this with me. Are we all here? Do we have a hold of this? This is living meditation, which incidentally happens to be the name of one of our programs. Living meditation. See? This is being, this is conscious and clear living. Not becoming. Being. Now you must feel this as a shift in consciousness. If you have felt out of it, now feel the shift as feeling in it and as it. Can you make that shift in consciousness? Or maybe you don't make the shift. If you're already in it, no shift is necessary. Just see it. Just observe it. Just see it for what it is. Just see the truth. Just be with me in the heart as the heart, which is be with you in the heart as the heart. I'm you. You're me. We are the self. There's not two. There are many bodies here, but one self. Or?
I have a question. When you were talking about feed and need, it's very beautiful. And I realized that I have a need to feed, a need to feed. And I've looked at it now.
A need to what?
To feed.
Feed?
In a relationship, I have a big need.
Oh, need to feed?
To feed, to give, to make light things. And I was looking honestly myself whether it's coming from my weaknesses. Maybe I need it, and I realized no. So how can I, because this is a limitation for me, this need to feed. I would like to be free from it. Maybe you can
Give yourself away. Give the feeder away. See, just totally feed to the point you've fed yourself out. Just feed yourself out. See? You were doing it last year here. Do it now. Do it. If you have a need to feed, that's Bhagavan using you. Don't be the doer. That's the point. Don't be the feeder.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. This is this very. This line is not so clear. It is not so obvious. See, it's not so clear and obvious for me yet.
Well, it's
There's
becoming.
There's something there.
It's good that you see that it's not clear to you. Now that you see that it's not clear to you, it must be clear that it's not clear to you, so clarity is there. Isn't it?
I'll give it attention, more attention.
You be the one, you be our ambassador again this year, or we already have a reputation. Ramana has a reputation, I've been told. It's humorous. One day Jesus was with his disciples, and he was saying, what are men saying about me? What are the people saying about me? Who do men say that I am? So I was sort of asking a question similar the other day, or some of the answers was kind of coming to. I said, well, that's kind of interesting. What are people saying? You all know what people are saying. I don't care what people are saying. It's just humorous and interested in what people are saying. I know what I am. Those of you who are in the heart and Satsang with me, you know what I am. You know who I am. You say, well, your ways are certainly different, Ramana, than others. Yes, probably they are. If there was only the need for one guru or one conscious being or one conscious teacher on the planet, the rest of us could retire. Do we get it? There are many different beings and many different approaches and many different ways. Up Arunachala, there are many ways to get to the peak. Some are easier than others. You get it? My way to the peak is easiest. It's the most direct. You are that already. Don't project the idea you're not that, see? Now, in order to shake you free sometimes from the solid identifications that you're caught in, sort of like epoxy, glue, sealed in plastic, laminated. Are you with me? To break down the lamination, to break up the epoxy, it takes some radical measures sometimes. And I'm not reluctant to using those radical measures. I'm very compassionate with any person that I'm intense with. It may not look it at the time, Have you ever had an occasion for it to, say, have a splinter in your finger? A little sliver, you know? Like a little something caught in your finger, huh? A little sliver, a little piece of wood or a thorn or in your finger, and you can't get it out. So you ask someone if they'll get it out for you. You with it? Now, each of you have a splinter. You all have one. I'm not accusing you, but to what degree you have a sense of I there that feels that there's an other, that you feel other with your I, then you have a splinter. So you come to me to remove your splinter. So I have to take a needle and go and remove the splinter. You with me? Now, if we leave the splinter there, then an infection's going to happen. You understand? You with me in the analogy? And pus will form. And when it becomes very painful with the pus there, and I'm trying to get the splinter out, you're saying, oh, that hurts. Please, stop. I'm just going to leave it in. I don't want to take it out. But you can't leave it in. There will be an infection. Then you could have blood poisoning. Are you with me? So I have to go after it. Now, I do have compassion while I'm going after it. It looks like I'm being very intense, very forceful. I'm just going after what has to be done. I'm completing what's necessary. And so I use any kind of method. I use a needle or whatever. I use words. You say, Ramana, you use some words that I've never ever used. Why do you use the words that you use? Because you are at the effect of those words. I'm not using them because that's the reason they come forth as a process. I don't sit down and premeditate and think ahead of time, well, I'm going to go in there and say fuck and upset everybody. Do you get this? But if it has to be said, it will be said. It doesn't matter what is necessary when it's coming from the self, working with the self to remove aspects of the self or conditioned aspects of the mind that are hiding the self. What's required is what's required. If you went to a doctor and you had a doctor that was kind of squeamish at the sight of blood, would you want to go to that kind of surgeon if he was squeamish at the sight of blood? Am I making myself clear? I'm not squeamish when it comes to accomplishing what's necessary to remove the infection, the splinter of your ego, of your mind. I will go right in there and do it. I don't hesitate. When I see it's there and I know it's there, I'm going to go right after it. That is, if you've come to me asking for that, and why would you come to me if you're not asking for that? If you have remnants of ego that is still there, you want to remove those remnants. For they are hiding, they are disturbing your peace, your freedom, your total well-being. So anything that is there that you're the effect of, that can upset you, that can bend you out of shape, that can make you angry, make you guilty, make you ashamed, make you embarrassed, you're not free, are you? Do we get this? Are you free if you have anything there like that? Look, see, we're functioning in a world that is full of it all. Now, not really, but it sure looks that way, doesn't it? And if we're identified with the body and the mind as being the self, then we are living in a world that has it all. Everything, good, bad, and in the middle. How can you deal with it? I don't think all of you live in India all the time. And even if you do live in India all the time, it's still not meditation and hearts and flowers all the time. Even in India, is it? Is everything beautiful and wonderful and comfortable in India? Is everything pleasant and warm and friendly in India? Is it? Aren't you subject to being upset in India? So, the point is, what's going on in you that reacts to what's going on in India or anywhere, wherever you live? When you go home and you start relating with your friends and your co-workers and your relatives, and they say something or they do something that is upsetting to you, are you free? Are you really? Are you free? So that's what being free is to not be at the effect of anything or anyone. Yes.
What I need, what I think I am, kind of protection, one kind of... when I am in my house, I feel my rhythm is right. I move freely. I feel completely at home inside of me and also the surrounding.
Well, make your house the self.
In the road, many times I feel I need kind of a shell of egg around.
I understand.
And this makes me feel isolation sometimes.
But what happens if you don't have that?
I'm isolated. I'm
Yes.
not complete.
Yes. And so you're really not at peace and you're really not free. That's the very point I'm making. Make your house, the house that you feel comfortable in, where is that house?
It's always the same, actually.
It's the self. Make that the self. If the self is your house, then you're always in your house. You're always comfortable. You're always free.
It's very delicate. I cannot...
Well, that's a thought.
It's delicate.
That's a thought. That's just a thought. If you didn't have the thought that it was delicate, it would be dynamic. The self is very dynamic. Oh yes, it can be delicate.
It's an image of what I am that is delicate, that needs protection.
But you see, are you your image of yourself?
No.
No. But if you're identified with an image that you have of yourself, which is really in the mind, then you're always trying to live up to the image, trying to cause this image to be this way and not this way, trying to give it security, and you're going to always be at the effect. But if you give up the self-image and abide in the self without an image, but just the being of the self that you are, you're already free. You're already free. That's what happens in I sit. I sit is I sit in the self. It means sitting in the self, abiding in the self.
And sorry, another thing is move, something like emotional, take me away, or look like take me away, the peace where I like to sit there.
Yes, that's just more thought. The emotion is not there without the thought of the emotion. So it's just more thought. See, you've not developed the strength and capacity of consciousness to not go there with those thoughts, but to stay sitting in the self. That's all. Strengthen your inquiry. See, increase your inquiry. Continue your inquiry. All of that is the result of not inquiring. You see? Okay, just stay with your inquiry. Yes.
Is there such a state where the peace and the thoughts actually coexist, or is this just a goal that I want to make? It's because I feel like I'm either in the peace or in the self, or I'm riding on one of the thoughts, even if it's just very short or longer, and then I go back to peace. And I seem to have this idea that I sit back and I can just watch the show. I can watch the thoughts of the emotion. Or I should be able to do this rather than I can do this because I can't. I find that the attention is either on the self or on the whatever is going on.
Well,
can they actually coexist?
Oh, yes. You can remain in the self while whatever is going on in exactly the same manner that it has always gone on. But now you're not pulled by it. You're not going there, as you say. You just remain in the self, and what's going on is going on, but it's not going on to you. It's not going on to me. There's no I or me. There's no doer there. See? They're just being. And that comes with the practice of the inquiry. Stay with the inquiry. Are you using inquiry?
Yeah.
Okay. Stay with the inquiry.
But I still find, even when I inquire then there is a thought and it becomes who is this thought occurring to, and that kills it rather than allows it to be there.
Well, but you say, how does it kill it?
It disappears at that moment. It's not
And by what means does it disappear?
By the question being asked, or the seeing.
Well, it's not just the question being correct, but it's not just the question being asked. It's the result of the question being asked and what took place, what transpired when you asked the question, what really occurred with your attention.
Well, went back into the self.
Yes, the self now comes forth, and the self is what slayed the thought. And if you slay every thought, Bhagavan says it's like a fort. If there's a fort, the enemy has taken over the fort. If you're there with a gun and you're shooting the enemy every time they come out of the fort, eventually they all come out of the fort, they'll all get killed. You do that with every thought, eventually you will kill the mind because the mind is composed of nothing but thoughts.
Yeah, but they still, as soon as I notice, I go back to the self.
Yes.
It's not like they actually coexist then, because as soon as I notice, it disappears. So
Well, they appear to coexist, yes. The self is always present, but you've been identified with the mind, not the self. And now it's a period that you go through. There will be a period of adjustment that you go through. Inquiry is in 3 phases. There's 3 phases of inquiry. The first phase is the question. When you recognize that a thought is occurring, you see that a thought is occurring, you inquire. And that brings attention back into the self. Now, as you bring attention back into the self, eventually you can begin to keep your attention in the self. You don't even have to ask the question. You just keep your attention in the self. And you remain with your attention in the self. The thoughts will come. You return your attention to the self. Keep your attention in the self. Eventually, the thoughts will come less and less. And as you're attending to the self, eventually you begin to just abide in the self. Now, from attending, it's abiding. That's the 3rd phase. And as you stay in the abiding in the self, which takes a little effort also in the beginning, but eventually it takes less and less effort. And when, as I said in the very beginning here this morning, when it takes no effort at all, that's realization.
And then thoughts can just arise and you see.
There's no thoughts in the self. There are no thoughts in the self. Namaste.